I tell you a story today about a change project, what we have initiated at SAP. So my name is Stefan Kreil. I work as a professional certified coach, supervisor, team coach at SAP. And uh, about half a year ago, my manager approached me and said, Stefan, you did some coaching 13 years ago in India, in Bangalore. You coached about 25 managers. Here we have a huge change project. I think we need coaching coaches as well. So what happened is that we said, okay, let's try to support the huge change project at SAP. And I'm not on my own, actually. Today, by the way, here are 10 coaches from SAP who are working on this project already. Some of them are in the room. Those of you who are participating in this project, please raise your hand. So after the session, maybe we cannot answer all the questions. Reach out to them. They will tell you everything about this project and how fascinating it is. And I will just give you, a short overview how it starts, what we do. And in fact, we are focusing on four aspects. When I say coaching and personal growth, I'm preaching to the converted. I think this is for us, I would say, it's common sense. Of course, also the transformation speed goes up, the outcome is better, and not to forget the transformation insights. And this is really important because we're using artificial intelligence to be fast and to get those insights, and I will tell you about this in a minute. Um, Very quick, you will get the slides anyway. Why are we transforming? Software business, we are never fast enough. There are always bugs. Customers want to have more. New technology, you're always late. There are always escalations. You're always late, no matter in which company you work. When you're working in the software industry, I think it's extreme. And also with artificial intelligence, many things are changing. And also we say we have about, according to the official data, we have about 37,000 developers at SAP. 37,000 developers. And how to manage this team of developers. And actually, we did this, of course, in the past 50 years, and we make money, and many companies rely on SAP. So this is actually, I think, just our normal business what we do. But we found out we can be more effective and better when we change the way how we work together. And I could say this is how we did it already 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Somebody had a great idea, went to the customer, came back from the customer, went to the developer, discussed with the developer, and then delivered the software, and the customer was more or less happy. And this worked. So, for example, myself, I flew around the globe, Australia to United States to the north of Europe, went to the customer, talked to the customer, brought the developer to the customer. We had a discussion, developed software, and delivered the software to the customers. This worked very well, but of course you can imagine not everybody can fly around the globe. So we say, what can we do? And our board member from Microsoft, Mohammed Alam, decided, let's use a model which is based on, let's say, a book from Marty Kagan. And Marty Kagan from the Silicon Valley product group says, in fact, when you want to develop software, you have to have a team, a so-called Empower product team, which consists of a product manager, engineering manager, and a UX designer. So these three people have to work together, which is, I think, not, easy to understand. Viability, feasibility, usability. And these three people have to work together and develop software. It sounds very simple. It's simple but not easy, as Steve DeShazer said, and we've talked about coaching. But we said we want to work according to this model. And this model also includes, we call it core principles. Key principles, core principles to become a successful product organization. And when you're familiar with Agile, Lean, design thinking, you name it, you can find those principles. So it's actually not something totally new, but it's extremely useful. And we say, if you do not attach to those principles, the way how you implement the software will not work. So you have to stick to those. And when you think about collaboration, sounds very simple. Of course we have to collaborate. But how do you do it when you're in 3 different time zones? How do you do it when you have, I don't know how many management levels? How do you do it when you have a senior UX designer, but a very junior development manager, and the other way around? And this is where, let's say, the challenge starts. And this is also why we were asked to support as coaches. So it's not the technology. The technology works pretty good. We know we have our tools and so on. But how do peoples work together? And we were supported by a big, let's say, consulting company, and they picked it up like this. They asked me to provide a business case, and I just sent them a draft, a couple of pages, and they said, yes, this is exactly what we need. So what did we do? We said, okay, we have to offer for those Empower product teams, plus for, let's say, the managers, one level above, we have to offer one-to-one coaching sessions. We have to offer pod coaching sessions, which is a kind of a mini-team coaching session. And of course, then we have cross-functional teams who also have to work together. So, and this is just an example how we do it. We have a plan, so let's say for about 6 months, more or less, where we say we have to upskill, new internal coaches. We have to have those, we call them pod coaching for pod coaches and one-to-one coaching for the product leadership team. For the Empower product team, so the level below, we have pod coaching, one-to-one coaching, and then we have the cross-functional team coaching. I think this is not rocket science, I would say, But what is new is that what we did is we invited 10 external coaches to work with us. So we have 40 internal coaches at SAP. We have about 600 coaches in general. All of them work according to ICF standards. And we asked 40 coaches to join us, and as we said before, they're here in the room. You can talk to them. They're real life, And by the way, some of them I met the first time in person, so it really works great, and they can also share their experience how it works. And we have power couples, an external coach plus an internal coach, or 2 internal coaches. Of course, we have to check how we can scale that, but you can imagine when you have almost 40,000 developers, how many managers you have, how many pods you have, how to do that. And also, for us, it's actually obvious that we don't have to, let's say, coach every person. Sometimes it just does not make sense. Now, the teams are not ready. Also, by the way, this is what we have learned. Teams are not ready because there are escalations. And I always say, we ask them to participate in a race, a Formula 1 race, and to change the tires, but not reduce the speed. Okay, everyone say, okay, you have to change the tires because the tires are not good anymore. But please, slow down, don't slow down. And this is really a challenge for the managers. And coaching is extremely useful for that. And with this combination of external and internal coaches, we have, let's say, a different perspective. As we sometimes say, but sometimes it's just better to have an external coach, although our coaches work according to the ethical standards. And this came, by the way, up when I talked to Kelly, who talked about team coaching just some time ago, where we said, okay, we need internal plus external coaches. It's not a competition. And I say, if you just have a platform where somebody can pick a coach, you can have an external platform as well. Somebody picks somebody, a coach, and then you have a chemistry meeting or whatever, and then you have a couple of coaching sessions. But this is a different story. This is a different animal. To do this, we have in fact 3 contracts. Of course, the first contract is what we have, let's say, the board member, where we say we support our managers to, to implement this model, number 1. The other one is, of course, on the lowest level, is the coaching agreement, what you have between the client and the coach, and they can, as usual, discuss about business or private life or whatever they do. And then you have actually an agreement with these people with the next level, so with the managers. What does the manager want to get out of this coaching? because this is our job, what we have to do, to make this implementation successful. And what we also do is because you can imagine when you have so many coaching sessions to set it up, it's quite a lot of work. I think everybody is suffering from that. And by the way, this is why it's so useful to also have internal coaches who help the external coaches to find a way through SAP. You know. On the other hand, they learn from that, and everybody's growing. And what we do is we have these principles not only, let's say, for our clients, we work according to the same principles. So, for example, thank you very much. For example, when we find out that something does not work, we change it immediately. And as Heiko usually says, I'm working with Heiko also almost every day, or every day, you know, today we are better than yesterday, and tomorrow we will be better than today. So we change this immediately. We do not waste energy, you know, for finding out whose fault is it, what is the learning. So we really stick to the principles and do that. And what we also do is we use artificial intelligence because we record the sessions. You know, if everybody agrees, so everybody has to agree that we record the session. Then we summarize the session using artificial intelligence, ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever, and then we get feedback out of that. And this is how we use it. So our job is not to let's say, to say who said what. This is not interesting. What we want to do is to create a huge library and be extremely fast. After the session, we combine the feedback, summarize it, send it to the management. And then they can take actions. So we are close to the heart, and this was actually the first point of the first slide, where you said, you know, we as coaches provide telemetric data for the change project. If you want to have just fancy slides, then probably it's not the best way to work with us, because we get real feedback. You get candid feedback. You like it or you don't like it, but you get it straight away after the session. And this is why we're so fast and why we are able to do that. And also, of course, we are still, let's say, investigating how to work best with AI. So we have a team who makes sure that we have the right prompts, how to store the data. All those things what we have discussed today, of course, applies. And you would not believe it. It's not always easy to, let's say, convince people that AI helps you. You know, sometimes, what is Microsoft doing with the data? Something like this. This is something what you have to discuss. You know, you have to be 100% transparent, have to be compliant, and then you can start working with that. This was just a quick overview of what we do. We have 2 minutes left, maybe 1 or 2 questions. Thank you very much. Heiko, what we do, and maybe Heiko, do you want to say 1 word, because you are one of the person who loves to play.
So I think the most interesting information is here the scale, as someone in the morning said it here. So the one-on-one coaching is in 6 months maybe 13,000 coachings. The pod coachings maybe 600 group coaching in 6 months. And then when we do the summary with Copilot and make this information, use the summaries to feed the artificial intelligence, it knows what's going on in the organization. So this was the idea, and I always say we are some small kids in a sun garden and we play around and we, wow, what's possible, but we don't know what to do with the data.
Congratulations for the great job you did. This morning we were hearing that despite we should coach the person and not the problem, I'm interested to know which are the main 3 problems you were discussing in your organization with coaches.
Yes, you would not believe it, because when we started, with us, of course, as coaching, you know what happens. But you know, the management thought, let's just implement it, you know, like a new tool. But it's the relationship. It's how to build the relationship between the teams. Of course, in some teams it works because they have been working together for 15 years. But some of them are totally new. And you have, let's say, UX designer in Shanghai, development manager in Waldorf, product manager in Palo Alto. You have different culture, different time zone, different experience, and to work together. And coaching is extremely useful, especially also when we work with the external coaches, that they just can I don't like this very much, this word open up, but you know, what our job is to create a safe space. As coaches, we create a safe space. And this is also, or most of the time, actually good enough. We don't have to have action items and things like that. Have a safe space. If you manage that the teams have a safe space, they can have an exchange in a way they want to do it, they decide how they open up or whatever they do, then we do a great job. Does this answer your question? Then we are actually on time. Wow.
Yes.
And so please reach out, as I say, maybe you raise your hand again and say, okay, from the SAP coaches, and to share with here, Alex is here, Effie is here, Gabriele is here. So,
Thank you very much.